Now, Ukraine's President Zelenskyy says that his country's war with Russia will not be over until his forces have retaken Crimea. Ukrainian troops are currently engaged in that counter-offensive to try to win back territory from Russian forces. With the latest on the situation on the ground, we're joined now by the former British Army Intelligence and Security Officer, Philip Ingram. And it's pretty easy, Philip, to take your eyes off Ukraine sometimes. What is going on at the moment?
It is. Well, we're day 495 of Vladimir Putin's 10-day special military operation, and I think we're probably 495 days further away from Crimea being on the cards to take. Ukrainians they've continued the initiative in the counteroffensive. They're attacking to the north and south of Bakhmut and making some successes. You're 500 metres, a kilometre in. It took the Russians 18 months to get 7 kilometres and capture the town itself. They're attacking down through the Donetsk-Zaporizhia Oblast border just south of Donetsk, and they're attacking a main effort attack down in through Zaporizhia down to Tokmak, or seems to be main effort, and that's trying to split that land bridge that there is coming up from Crimea up into Russia. Right,
and the Ukrainians are trying to sort of keep the Russians occupied elsewhere as well. You were talking about this bridge down here. What's going on there?
They are, and across the board. We've got about 600 kilometres of front line, and the Antonovsky Bridge, which we've got a picture of, the Ukrainians put a small special forces element across and held a bridgehead there. They're never going to get tanks or armoured vehicles across that, but that's keeping the Russians guessing as to what's going on and keeping their reserve forces split, and therefore they can't concentrate their reserves to try and counter any Ukrainian push through when it happens. It's still early days. Ukrainians have got the initiative. It's still working, but it's slower than expected.
Well, that was to be my next question. I mean, it was a much vaunted, much expected counter-offensive. It does seem to be going pretty slowly or cautiously.
Cautiously is the way I'd put it. And I think we're lured into a false sense of security because of the success in Kharkiv and Kherson last year, which were very rapid indeed. This is different. The Russians have had 9 months to build very, very complex, interlinked and layers of defences with mines and anti-tank ditches and anti-tank traps and all the rest of it, all covered by indirect fire, by anti-tank missiles, and from the back with helicopters and their air forces. So it's a very different game, and the Ukrainians have to probe very carefully and punch through when they're ready.
Right, and the attempted mutiny, what about, I mean, what's happening? Where is Prigozhin? Do we know yet?
Prigozhin,
for Belarus, and no one's seen him.
That's the $6 million question. We have to remember he was Putin's chef. They're clearly not very good looking at Vladimir Putin's expression. But no, I understand that the Kremlin have withdrawn all of his contracts, so he's losing his money from the military. His contract was chefing to not just the Kremlin, but providing all of the food for the Russian military. That's gone. And Prigozhin's expected, or we believe he's in Belarus at the moment, but he's gone quiet, as have those who were potentially being questioned as potential supporters from him. There have been some reports that he's starting to build up his Wagner group inside Belarus now, unconfirmed reports today of him going around some of the Belarusian prisons, but that could be part of information operations, just trying to do things. But there are also reports of him building a camp, and I think we've got a picture of a camp that has been associated with the Wagner group just inside Belarus.
So we know it's associated with the Wagner group? Do we think?
Believe it is. Yeah. A number of different intelligence organisations and open source intelligence organisations have suggested it is. But there's so much disinformation around that will help the Ukrainians help the Russians, that it's very difficult to know what's real fact.
Right, and just finally, I mean, the Ukrainians are sort of prepared, I guess, for a sort of an attack from the north again, which was one of the things being mooted.
And it's interesting, if Prigozhin is preparing a military force that's in there, he's still working with Vladimir Putin. If he tries to attack down into Ukraine, we warned the Russians that, warned the Ukrainians that the Russians were attacking back in February. Yeah. We'll be watching this very closely, and if he does prepare a force to go in, the Ukrainians will get plenty of notice, and they will have prepared and they've rehearsed their defences to stop him coming through.
OK, Philip, interesting stuff. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.